Just 1 second. Go to adaptiveus.com. Say we take CBAP. Okay. So if you go to CBAP, there is session plan. Okay. So if you look at this, these are the 4 sessions which Peter took. I think Peter took 1 and 2. Laura took 3 and 4. This is where we mostly discuss the theory portion of BABOK. Then today we are having the first prep session, which is mainly dealing with scenario-based questions. Okay, because scenario-based questions come both in CBAP and CCBA, that's why we asked CCBA folks also to join today. Then tomorrow, which is the 6th session, and next Saturday, these 2 sessions are only for CBAP, and we would be discussing case-based questions, which are kind of little higher order than the scenario-based questions. That's what we will do in session 6 and 7. And then finally, we would have the last session, which is mainly for your behavioral skills. And if you have any other question in your mind, that is what we will do in session 8. Or if we are running short of time and something was missed out, that is what we will cover in session 8. It's a little bit of a buffer available to the faculties to kind of use that buffer. Okay. Good. So now let's move to our next topic, which is requirements lifecycle management. Oh, we have 3-4 topics more. Maybe solution evaluation is something that I can't do today. I will do it probably in the very last session. That part I will leave it for the session. So let's go to our next topic, which is requirements lifecycle management, and pick some questions from there. And this time, let's start with 1 second. We will start with, we had stopped where? I think, Rick, that is what I remember. Maybe the first question will go to Nidhi. Okay, so I'll go up from here. And where is requirements lifecycle management? It's here. This is more of a behavioral questions. I'll leave it for the time being. Maybe I'll take up another question. Okay. Nidhi, go ahead.
Okay, yes, sure.
What's your answer, Nidhi? I just talked about this one few minutes back, so yes, maybe you can recollect.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So it may be I'm confused between B and D.
So, okay. Which one would you like to pick? Pick one.
Because you know the quality assurance and they review in the content and all. So I would go with D.
Okay, no problem. Yaslov.
I think that from the 4 I would go for B.
Nidhi, remember, a long list is not something that you should go after.
No, I said B.
Correct. What you said is right. I'm talking to Nidhi. Nidhi, okay, don't go for a long list. Okay. It's just a trick to divert your attention.
Okay.
There is no
Okay.
complete
Actually,
list in Babok.
uh,
Okay. So Resi
okay.
matrix is actually the best thing to go for because that is something that you created. Okay. In a decision making process, suppose you are exposed, how do you make a decision? Which document do you refer? So please remember this particular flow that we do. First, request or look at your project documents. What does your project document tell you? That is your first preference. Then, if the project document doesn't tell anything about it, then look at enterprise document. Does your company tell you something about it? Next level. Okay, you don't find anything. Again, then you go to industry document. So what is an industry document? Things which is adopted by the industry. So for example, many of you might have heard this term called Scrum, which is
Yes.
this one,
Yes.
Scrum. So,
That we use. Yeah.
so a lot of companies follow Scrum. So Scrum is basically a framework which has been created by industry folks. And a lot of people follow Scrum because they find it good content to follow. But your priority will always be in this order. First project document, then company document, third level is industry document. When it comes to policies, so this is like your document reference, But if you're looking at a project requirements and all, typically we look at the requirement sources in this order. In terms of their importance, the most important stakeholder is actually government. Why is government so critical? Iris?
Because
Sorry.
government is a head, like
Government has a lot of power. They can jail you. If they feel that you are doing something illegal, they can always put you behind the bar. Say, for example, I think many of you might have heard this rule called SOX, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. And if you say CEOs jailed because of SOX Act, if you take a look, so these are the people who have been jailed. Okay. At least 3 have been convicted. Okay. So people actually can go to jail because of violating some government rule. So that is why we have to look at what government says. Then from government we come to client. What is the client asking us to do? Then internal. What is that within our company we have decided to do? So the first priority goes to government, second priority comes to client, and third priority goes to our internal regulations. Okay, so I can say regulations priority.
The client will also be the customer in that case?
Yes, of course, client and customer are same thing, unless you want to distinguish. Okay, can somebody tell me what is the difference between a client and a customer? Is there a difference?
Well, customer in my mind could be internal, external, but with the third point being internal, then you would have internal customers under 3. So it would be the exterior customer you're referencing.
No.
But I don't know the difference between client and customer.
Would a client be somebody? Go ahead, Rick. Yes.
Well, I'm thinking that a client is something that I'm probably going to have to, you know what, I'm going to have to backtrack on me opening up my mouth.
Okay. No, it's usually if you observe the industries like consulting, medicine, accounting, law, they use the word client, mainly indicating the transactions are long term. Whereas for a customer, is the transactions are very limited. You really don't want to kind of be in touch with a customer for a very long time. That's how many industries work. Suppose you purchased an IBM laptop, just for an example. Did IBM guys come back to you later saying, Rick, you purchased an IBM laptop. Would you like to buy anything more? Do they come back to you?
No, they did not.
They don't.
No.
So they'll believe in transactional aspect. You buy something. That's why they do a lot of advertisements and they make people buy their product. But once you buy their product, you are no longer a customer for them. Means you have purchased and done. Whereas if I take the client view, I would actually be in touch with you. So a client-centric approach is actually better than a customer-centric approach. So all of us should try to develop clients so that you remain in touch with them. Say, I will tell you something interesting happened very recently. We used to have another gentleman by the name Muhammad Jaharan. He is in Egypt. So for some reason, we had not marked him as certified for AAC. So we marked it in the system saying now Muhammad has completed AAC, and we sent a mail to Muhammad saying congratulations on completing AAC. Muhammad came back and said, okay, guys, I think it's good that you wrote me a mail. I have become the chapter president for Egypt. Can we do something together? So I'll show you that interaction. So Muhammad Jaharan. I think some of you are from Egypt, so maybe you should get in touch with Muhammad Jaharan. Okay, so this is how the interaction started. And he actually got certified long back, not in April. But we just sent this mail to him. Then he came back. Then we had a partnership proposal. And now we have a partnership with the chapter. So in a sense, we would like to stay in touch with our customers over a period of time. That's the good thing for a company to do. That's where you see value, because in the first transaction, you may not see value, but in subsequent transactions, there can be value. And that is the client-centric approach. So please remember, all of us should try to develop clients, not customers. Okay, jokes apart, that's just the term that I learned in IBM, so I'm just conveying it to you. In IBM, we will always use the word client, not customer. Okay, good. So I think this question Nidhi took. So after Nidhi, I asked it to Yashlo as well.
I just need some clarification on this question. So my first guess was also the RACI matrix because you will find all the stakeholders who are responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. But again, I was thinking it may be option 3, the sponsor, whoever the sponsor has dictated will sign off, because the RACI matrix doesn't have name who will actually sign off the documents.
You should have at least a role, and a role is better than a name because the person can always change. And we are not in any dictatorship world, Gopi. Why would the sponsor dictate? That's like such a strong term to use.
Okay.
Should you use in a work called dictate? Dictate is something like in military or something. You use that word. In a general world, we don't use that word. No? That's not a good sign, actually.
We don't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? When you're reading through so many options, you just kind of ignore the some of the.
Yeah, that's why we deliberately use the word dictate. Okay.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Good. This question goes to Iris. Why it is not moving? Maybe okay, I think this timed out. So let me just log in again. And we were on question number 3. Iris. Iris, did you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I did. I'm just trying to read the question.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. I would go with D, please.
D for Delta?
Yes.
That's the right one. I think it's straight from Babcock. So, would you explain these terms to me, Iris? Because I think that's a good benefit for the entire team.
All right. So I would say that with traceability, you always want to know where the requirement is coming from, what it impacts, whether or not the requirement satisfies the need, and then ensure that the requirement is also accurate.
Okay. The relationships are something like this. Between two requirements, one requirement may be derived from the other. That's when we use the word derive. So typically, low-level requirements are derived from high-level requirement. Depend means the two requirements have a dependency between each other. If you don't fulfill one requirement, the other requirement cannot work. Satisfy means a component, a solution that satisfies the requirement. Validate is basically a test case validating the requirement. That's the relationship, the 4 types of relationship that Babcock talks about. Okay. Then this question goes to Ilham.
Sorry, was the right answer B?
D for Delta, Mohammed.
The previous question?
Yes. Ilham?
You might just go back to take a quick glance?
Oh, you want to? No problem.
Okay, thanks.
Ilham? Hello, Ilham, are you there? Not sure. Gopi?
Yes, I'm here. So I think it would be C.
Okay. Auburn?
Yeah, I need a minute to read the question, please.
Okay. Just to tell you, who is caller 02? Can you please identify? This is the only person whose name is not there for me. Who is caller 02? So that I can remember and call you by name. Anybody on phone? I see Nidhi to be on phone. And there's one more person who is on the phone. No? Okay. Maybe I'm not able to place the person. Okay, that's fine. Auburn?
Yes. So let's see. I'm between B and D.
Okay, very good.
I would maybe D, because the PM you'd probably want to go to the PM before you go to the sponsor.
Okay. Just to come back to Gopi, Gopi, Babcock generally doesn't expect you to work without any reward. That's not the right way to do things. So, okay, maybe we do it in our company. That's a different story. But Babcock would expect you to be more planned, organized, taking right kind of inputs. Okay. So obviously working without reward is not something any method would recommend. Okay. Now coming to the choice between B and D. This is actually a little controversial question. Usually the project managers would like to change the scope or not change the scope.
Not.
They don't want to, because it affects the project schedule and all. So it may be a good idea to go to the sponsor, because the sponsor can always have the authority. They have the authority to change the project scope, and that may be a good idea. But some people come back to me and say, LN, if I go to the sponsor directly, maybe the project manager will be unhappy with me. Okay. So this is actually a question that is little tricky. But for the time being, you remember the scope is a decision that the sponsor takes, not the project manager. That's the solution scope. The project scope is something that the project manager kind of controls. Okay.
LN, I was going to answer the sponsor first, but I remembered your comments about how does BABOK look at this. And BABOK specifically states project deadline changes has to go through project manager. That's part of the responsibility.
True.
And then I switched my answer to say, okay, with BABOK, it would be number D. What do you think of that feedback?
No. That is true, what you said. A change to the project scope has to happen with the knowledge and acceptance of project manager. But see, for example, what are we saying here? That we are finding an important new feature that would significantly improve the solution. So you believe that the solution will become much better. So the sponsor can always take a call saying that, no, I think we can extend the project deadline because the sponsor has the authority to alter the deadline as well.
Key is to really get buy-in on if they want this feature included. Is that the way to look at it? Because the sponsor will decide if the feature is included.
True.
And then that indirectly or subsequently affects the deadline.
Yes.
Okay.
But of course, the sponsor would consult the project manager, not that the sponsor can unilaterally change, but maybe the sponsor will come back to the project manager and say, hey, I think if this feature can add a good value to the product, maybe we extend it.
Like I would, if I were to have a fifth choice, I would say recommend a course of action and present the recommendations to a project manager and then sponsor.
That's also a good option, Mohammed.
But they don't give you that.
Yeah, good. Then this one goes to Angel.
Okay. It will say A.
Very right. I think it's almost a similar question that we did in the past. Very good. Okay. Then let's switch our gear to our next topic, which is strategy analysis, and we'll probably end up with requirement analysis today. And solution evaluation is something that we will do in the 8th session. Okay. So we will start with Amar because we had stopped with Angel. So we will start with Amar.
Okay.
This is actually a very good question if Amar can get it right.
I think I'll go for A.
Okay. Mohammed.
I would say B, because the executives and the key stakeholders are the decision makers when it comes to the evaluation of risk.
Okay, good. I think Mohammed is applying his enterprise or organizational experience, and that is why he is coming up with answer B. As per Babcock, it is possible that the organization can take a risky approach as well. Remember risk analysis technique? We said there are three kinds of enterprises: risk averse, risk neutral, and risk seeking. Although majority of the organizations are actually risk averse. Most organizations are risk averse, and there is a reason behind it. I don't know how many of you heard this company. There was a bank in Europe, in UK actually. It was called Barings Bank. So if you just search Barings Bank collapse, this is the story behind this bank. Okay. This was founded in 1762, pretty old bank. Barings was the oldest merchant bank in Britain before its collapse in 1995. Not very long back. The 233-year-old bank was brought down single-handedly by its employee, Nicholas William Leeson, better known as Nick Leeson, a derivative trader. So it's possible that a single person can do something which will bring down a 200-year-old bank, which is very risky. That is why most companies try to be risk averse. But Babcock doesn't per se tell that everything or every company is risk averse. Okay? So once I give you this input, Muhammad or Amar, would you like to change your option? Rick, what would be your choice?
Originally, I wasn't going to go for this, but based on what you just said, I would go for B.
B for Bravo?
Yes.
I don't know. That's just a one incident I described. Don't worry. Mohammed?
I think I can go for C now. Portfolio planning and management groups usually.
Okay. Let me tell you, Amar.
I'm thinking D.
It is actually D for Delta.
D
for Delta. Okay. So there's a term that we use in question world, which is called high sounding garbage. Okay. Kind of be aware of this high sounding garbage. So in fact, you can create some very high sounding garbage using one website. And I really love this website. It's called Mission Statement Generator. Okay. I don't know. This gentleman seems to be a consultant. So he created a simple tool. Using this tool, you can actually create kind of very high sounding statements. Like, look at this. We completely facilitate scalable paradigms to provide solutions for our partners. Okay, don't like it? Click another one. Our goal is to quickly fashion multimedia-based intellectual capital to meet our client needs. Don't like? Click. Okay, something else. Something else. Okay, so what has that person done? He or she, I think John, has really collected these nice sounding words and he's putting them together to create this kind of statements. So if you look at the questions, they're actually created with that mindset. So they write some kind of a verbiage with value, potential, all kinds of high sounding words. Nothing is mentioned in Babcock about this kind of things. So the only thing Babcock probably points to you is that usually business analysts work with sponsors to get the information, do the analysis, because the sponsor may not have the time to do everything. So basically, if you look at the sponsors team, The sponsor has a project manager. The sponsor has a business analyst. The sponsor has an implementation specialist. And the sponsor is trying to effect a change. Okay. So just be careful about this kind of high sounding verbiage. Okay. Good. Now we are back to the bottom list. Max.
Yes, I'm ready.
Would you like to use the elimination technique? Try the elimination technique. If you have to eliminate choices, which ones would you eliminate first?
My answer would be A, on-call current capacity.
Okay. Brushali.
Yeah, I'm not sure really. I think business case for new ERP, because you're trying to understand the business needs for why they want to
Go for
consolidate all the ERPs into one.
Okay. Actually, defined business case will happen, but first you have to do a gap analysis. Only when your requirements are known, because remember, business case involves costing. See, what does a business case contain? If you remember the business case technique, the business case contains three primary elements: benefits from the project, costs of the project, and risks for the project. These three elements are discussed in business case, and to understand costs, you should have done gap analysis. Okay, so from that perspective, the gap analysis actually comes before your business case.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, gap analysis and change strategy, and then business case.
The other way I look at this too, LN, is you just pause for a second on that slide.
Yes.
In the question, they already identify that the kind of part of the need is to migrate to an ERP. So the need is there, and the key to come up with the solution scope and or the approach is to understand the differences between the two. So it would be the logical step, now that you know what the problem statement is to uncover the differences so you can come up with the proper approach.
True. So I had such a funny experience with the client, and we were presenting the MIS and all the reporting for the client, and the chairperson of the client, he had an interesting observation. He said, the only number that I trust in my company is what is given by the bank. So he had so little faith on the numbers being presented to him from the internal systems, because there was so much discrepancy. One division will say we made so much profit. The corporate will say, no, we did not make that much profit. That means when you add the 4 divisions profit, it is different from the corporate profit. How can that be? The corporate has 4 divisions. So ultimately, the corporate profit has to be equal to the divisional profits, but they will not match. Okay. This one goes to Tasa.
Okay. I would say the third one.
Okay. Ron, what would be your choice?
I'm looking at the word quantitative, so I'm looking at it's either toss up between A and B. One refers to cost, and the other one counts, reducing inventory. I don't know, I would go with A out of those two.
Okay. Actually, Ron, if the word likely was not there, we would have gone with
Oh, yeah, okay.
Likely is a very weak word because it looks like you are not sure if you will get the benefit. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
it would be B, yeah.
Yes.
It's more firm.
Yes. Tasa, all these are numbers. It's not that you can't measure, but these are not very hard numbers. It depends on, suppose customer satisfaction. It's not something that you can count. It's something like a perception. The person was in good mood, they give you a good score. Like I remember when I was a child, we used to have a topic which was very interesting. In that topic, it used to say, if you are a patient and you have gone to see a doctor, and you ask the doctor saying, what can I eat? Because when you are a patient, you are obviously worried about your diet. So the answer will depend on whether the doctor had breakfast or not. So if the doctor had a full breakfast, nice breakfast, the doctor will say, oh, you eat anything you like. Okay. If the doctor is hungry, he will say, no, don't eat anything. So customer satisfaction is like that. Sometimes the customer is very happy for some reason, he or she gives you a great rating. And sometimes he or she is unhappy due to some other reason, and that reflects back on you. Okay, so this is the good option to go for. Then this goes to Rick.
I hear you, I'm reading.
Okay.
I'm going to go for A.
Okay. Nidhi.
Yes, just a minute. Carry out capability assessment.
Rick, what are we asking the business analyst to do? They're concerned whether they can do the change with existing structure, people,
Yes.
processes, and technology. It's mainly a capability assessment.
Yes, I do agree. So after I gave my answer and 20 seconds after, I looked at it and I chuckled to myself.
Okay, very good. It happens sometimes. Okay, then this one goes to Yaslo.
Ellen, I have a question. With the test, is it computer-based to where if you select an answer and go to the next question, can you go back and change your previous answer?
You can. You are allowed to change the options as many times as you like. And that is why we have this option called review. So when you click something as review, which means you can actually go back to the question at a later point in time.
What was the answer for the previous? Sorry, what was the answer for the previous question?
We haven't done. I was just showing the review feature. Okay. So this one is for Yashlo. So
no, the one before this. Sorry.
Oh, the before one. Let me go back. What was the before question? This is to carry out the capability assessment.
Got it. Thanks.
Yashlo.
Yeah, give me a second, reading through.
Sure.
Okay, I think that the answer B, like beta, is the right one.
Okay. I think a lot of people look at that option. I am kind of quite interested because I think you are comparing 750 versus 650. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do one thing. I think maybe let me clarify the answer from Babok itself. How Babok treats opportunity cost. How does it define that term?
I would say that's a definition question for sure, because I made the same mistake, but when I read the definition of Babok and understand it, then you right away you pick up the right answer.
True. So let's look at the definition. Opportunity cost, opportunity cost. Okay. So this is how it defines, and maybe there is a glossary. In the glossary, do we have opportunity cost? Okay. I didn't put it in the glossary. They should have put it in the glossary actually. Okay, read this. Opportunity cost refers to the benefits that could have been achieved by selecting an alternative change strategy. So, by this simple definition, if we go back to the question, the option that we let go was 750,000 due to whatever reason. So our opportunity cost is actually $750,000. It's just a plain direct definition cost. Okay. But I think yes. Go ahead. Yeah, somebody said something. Oh, everybody is quiet. Very strange. Okay.
I have a question regarding this. What is the purpose of this question? Is it just have you read Babok, or
obviously
is opportunity cost actually used in business analysis?
No, we do use opportunity cost quite a lot. Say, for example, any investment that you want to make. Ultimately, the company is trying to invest money, and they may have multiple ways that they can invest money. So they would always like to understand, suppose I invest money into option A, what kind of return I will expect. Suppose I invest into B, what kind of return I will expect, or what kind of value I will expect. But I have a limited money. I don't have money to do investment A, investment B, investment C. So when you make a decision to go with one particular option, you are letting go of the other options. That's all it says.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe, Brusali, I think one good example would be something like this. Suppose you are working in a company. So how does your salary curve look like if you're working in a normal, typical company? For most people, I'm not talking about some exceptional people. Some exceptional people can have a very different kind of a salary curve. But for most people, how does it look like? How does the salary curve look like?
Well, it's increasing, so.
Correct. It's a steady increase. Okay. So maybe you started your career here. Okay. Say, for example, one second. Let me take a very simple thing. So maybe your curve would look something like this. You get a little jump somewhere, and it is kind of steady increase till you kind of come to retirement. If you wish to become an entrepreneur, how could your salary curve look like?
If you're successful, then it would be
but usually
quite a sharp increase. But
yes, but usually what would happen? Maybe you started here, your salary will actually come down. Okay, it will actually come down quite a lot. Then it may increase, and at some point in time it actually can go up significantly higher. So whenever one becomes an entrepreneur, he or she is losing the opportunity to work in a particular setup, and maybe this actually could become negative actually sometimes. That means you are actually paying from your pocket. You are not receiving any money, but you are spending money from your pocket, and usually this is what I would see. In fact, this graph could start very sharply actually. Maybe the moment you decide to become an entrepreneur, you're automatically in the negative zone. Okay, maybe at some time you become positive, and then you actually, if you are successful, your returns will become much higher. Okay, so what is this point that we call in financial analysis? What is this point called? Hey, all of you are going for, many of you are going for CBAP. You should know these terms. Maybe we'll discuss tomorrow. This is what is called the break-even point. That means your two options start matching. Okay, so this point is called the break-even point. Okay, no field. This is the break-even point. Okay. Good, I'm glad the answer was right. Okay, so who gave this answer this time? Yaslo? If I remember, who was the person who answered this question?
Yeah, I answered it wrongly, so.
Okay.
It was.
So you must have calculated the difference. That's why you came up with 100K. Okay.
Yeah, because what I don't really understand in conceptually in this opportunity cost is the fact that
I lost
out. What I don't understand in this opportunity cost is the fact that money earned here in this example is in different time frame. So it's hard for me to understand why we are saying that during the project A, which is short, we could have earned, or we lost opportunity to earn 750,000 when we wouldn't, because this project was longer. But okay, I think that this is definition question and I shouldn't argue with that.
True. I think maybe this option is actually a good option, but Babak doesn't talk about it, and Babak only gives us an option which is like this. Maybe that's actually a good way to look at it. What is the value I may lose maximum? Maybe I can say the differential value is only 100K, not 750K. Okay.
So there isn't really a definition about the variances of the two in any of the business books or financial books?
I really don't know anywhere. I haven't come across that differential term actually. All books kind of stop here. Maybe at some advanced finance course they may be doing. I'm not aware. We are not financial analysts, so we only know finance to some extent, not to a great extent. And generally what I say is if you are getting into deep into a financial analysis, it's better to take help of a person who is specialized. Don't try to do all kinds of complex calculations yourself. Maybe you will make a mistake because that's not what you do on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Good. Then let me move to the last topic for today, which is requirement analysis. And then we will take stop. We will stop here for today. Tomorrow anyway, Laura will continue and I'll continue next week. So we go to Brad and take up few questions from Brad. This goes to Ilham. Ilham? Strange. Okay. Gopi.
Okay, I'm reading it through. I think it's rules table D.
Okay. Auburn.
Yes. Yeah, I'd probably go with D as well.
Okay. So that means we have been successful in distracting you from the right answer. Okay. I think you went with rules table because the word rule is available in the question. Okay. There is no technique called rules table in BABOK. There is only a technique called decision table.
Yes.
Okay. So please try to remember the terms used in BABOK and do not try to deviate from those terms. So for that, I would request all of you to take a little time and read this particular book, which is called the Glossary, Extended Glossary of BABOK. That is something I would expect you to read during this week. Just 1 second, let me go to succeed. Is this succeed? Yes, maybe I would open. Gopi, can you please go on mute? Thank you. So let me open succeed in another page as well. So there is this book called BABOK Glossary, which is there in study guide section. Take a look at all the 600 terms that BABOK has. Okay, so if you're seeing a term beyond this, then you probably know that the term is not there in BABOK. So this is the book called BABOK B3 Glossary. So please read this book. And knowing the glossary is one important part of the exam. Okay. Then next question goes to Angel.
Okay. B.
Okay. Amar, what would be your choice?
Specifying and modeling requirements.
Okay. Muhammad.
Sorry, give me 1 second, please.
Yeah.
I want to change my answer. I think it's B.
Okay. It is B, verifying requirements. So the requirements quality check is pertaining to verifying requirements.
Verification.
Very good.
Yeah. The word quality is the key there.
Yes.
Now it would be the distinguisher if you were to use validate.
True.
For me, was I want to ensure the requirement model meets. That's the only important thing.
Requirements model is basically the diagrams that we create. That's what is requirements model. Say flow chart, DFD, sequence diagram, they're all part of requirements modeling.
No, my question, why not validate the requirements? What's the key in terms of verification versus validation?
Okay, so please understand these two terms from BABOK perspective. Verify, check individual requirements quality. The key word is individual. Okay, so this is what BABOK expects you to do when you are verifying requirements. So each and every requirement you check if they are of high quality, which is some terms are there, like say they'll say it must be atomic, complete, correct, the 9 attributes. Okay, verify is check,
validate.
Sorry, I made a mistake. Validate is check requirements as a group. Okay, so here we are actually checking the requirements together as a group, whether they would satisfy our future needs. Okay, so this is the major difference between the two. One is you are looking requirements as individual entities and making sure that they are of right quality. The other one, you are actually taking the requirements together to see if they will satisfy your future need.
This is very useful, LN. Thank you.
Okay. Sometimes we may use the word validate in a slightly different way, but don't go into that territory. Stick to the BABOK territory. Okay. Then this question goes to who took the last question? I think we went up to Mohammed took the question. Maybe Max.
Okay, I'm ready. Scenarios.
Okay. Vrushali, what would be your choice?
Sorry, I'm just reading. I think scenarios.
Okay. Both of you are right. It is scenarios. A lot of times other people choose use cases. Use cases is not a wrong answer per se, but we are more looking at a more specific answer than the generic answer. So use cases contain scenarios, but our question pertains to scenarios, not to use case. Very good. I think I'm glad that both of you got it right. Next question goes to Tasa.
Okay.
think today it has been very intense for you guys because you have to answer the questions. Other days you must be only listening to Peter and Laura. Tassa? Oh, what happened to Tassa? Oh, you're there. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe the last one.
Okay.
That one. I'm actually thinking between the second one and the last one.
Okay. Between the second and the D option, which one would you choose? Which do you think is better?
Maybe the second one.
Correct. Because the second one contains the fourth one.
Yeah.
So it is better to go with the second one than going with the fourth one. Because fourth one is actually partially correct, whereas the second one is fully correct. Very good. Okay. Then the last question for the day. This goes to Ron.
I'm here, just checking. I'm just guessing on C.
C for Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay. Rick, what would be your choice?
I'm here. I'm going to go for B.
No, what Ron said is right. It is C.
Yeah.
Okay. You're trying to maintain the relationship of your requirements. Relationship management is a term that we study in ITIL, which is basically how, as an IT service manager, you can maintain relationship with your stakeholders. Babak doesn't use that word. So we just kind of created a word called relationship management, which is probably very popular in consulting world as well. Like our account managers are responsible for relationship management. Okay. So maybe I would like to stop here today. I asked you a lot of questions.
So what's the answer for that? Is the B or C?
C for Charlie.
Okay.
Is there any question that you would like to ask me? Because I asked you so many questions today.
Yes, I do have a question. How do I know if I'm ready or not?
If you score anywhere above 85% in all simulations, so kind of go step by step. Take the first simulation. Are you getting about 85%? Good. Go to the second simulation. What's the kind of score you are getting? So if you are getting anywhere between 85, 90 in simulations, you are pretty good to go. That's why chapter-based questions are useful, because the chapter-based questions make you ready for the simulations.
Where are the simulations are listed inside?
If you go to the question section, actually that's a wrong terminology we used. I think we called it as overall, but we will change the name to simulations. This is where the simulations lie. I'm of course seeing a lot of simulations because as a faculty, I have access to many kind of simulations. You will be basically focusing on the simulation for your standard.
Okay. So if I'm doing CBAP, I go with the CBAP simulation.
Yes, you will not see others anyway, so don't worry. It's just a faculty login which has everything. Others will not see that much.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Mohammed.
So you said chapter-based questions. You mean the quizzes, right?
Yes, the ones which are lying here, like solution evaluation, strategy analysis, planning. These are the chapter.
Everything under each knowledge area.
Yes, yes.
That's.
So I have a question like in questions. So should I start with fundamentals, then
better
competency?
Better, yes. Go by this order. First fundamental, then competency based, then scenario based, then case study based, then simulation.
Okay. Okay. And the question in the exam is this much or this? Sometimes it's a page, 1 page long.
Oh, we'll come to that, Nidhi. Don't worry. We haven't talked about case-based questions. That we will do tomorrow.
Oh. Okay, sure. Thank you.
Today's focus is only scenario-based questions.
Okay.
I remember, like in the past, about a year and a half back, we never discussed questions in the training. We were only teaching theory. But then we realized that the purpose is to pass the test. Theory, of course, helps, but this question answer sessions can help you a lot more than theory. Because even if you read theory, you still may not be able to answer the questions. That is why we are spending so much time in questions today, which I believe is helping a lot of people to pass very quickly. Like there was one gentleman, I'll show you his review that came just about 2-3 days back, maybe Google review. So if you see here, Eric Chapman or something, if I remember. So if you read here, he says, made studying easy and all that. And I was not only able to pass the exam on the first try, but I did not second guess any of my answers. So he could get the answers right first time. I was really surprised that somebody can get this level of questions. But of course, he went for ECBA, which is a little lower level exam. For CCBA and CBAP, obviously, questions are harder. It does take a little time to get it right.
I have 2 questions, but they're not really related.
Yes, tell
my
me.
first one being that right now I'm going for CCBA certification.
Yes.
Do you see benefit or recommend later going for CBAP as well?
I would say so, because CBAP is the most recognized certification. So if you meet the criteria, maybe you can send your profile, take a look. But generally, I recommend people take CCBA, then CBAP. That way, you are kind of making yourself ready in a very nice way. You are not under too much pressure, and you have a certificate in hand.
Okay. And then my second question.
Go ahead. Amar, can you please be on mute? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Amar.
My second question being, in preparing for the exam, how do we determine where we need to go to take the exam? Like what location's closest to us, or is it an exam?
Okay. It depends on the place where you are. Where are you, Auburn? In which city?
Springfield, Illinois.
Illinois? Okay. So just do one thing. Prometric Test Center. Prometric Test Center in Illinois. If you just do this much, it will tell you these are the places where you have Prometric Test Center. But you have to also check if that center conducts CBAP or CCBA or not. Not necessarily all centers conduct the test. Most of them do. It's not that they don't do, but you just have to confirm that the center that you are looking for has the test. So in US, I don't think it's a problem. There are a lot of centers available. In some countries, it becomes hard. Like if you're in Jamaica, you may not get a center in your country. You may have to go to some other place or some other country. It happens to some European nations as well. There are small European nations where you may not get an exam center, so you have to plan to go to some other country as well to take the test. In the US, it's not a problem.
Okay, so so do we pick a location and then do we need to note that location in our application?
Yes, yes. Not in the application. Once your application is approved, you have paid the exam fee, then you are free to choose any center you like. So you have to choose a center which is convenient to you and that provides CBAP. So two conditions, which is convenient, and then check if that has CBAP provision. Very good. If not, then you have to look at the next center where CBAP is available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other question?
One more thing, like, do we need to give the dates for examination?
Yes.
Means, do we need to pick dates while submitting the application?
No, no, no. Not during application. Once your application is approved, you pay the exam fees. After that, you have to decide on the exam date and center. Not during application.
And we cannot change it once we give our date.
You
right?
can, but there will be a rescheduling charge.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Okay. Because it's a thing that they are reserving a place for you. If you don't go for the test, the place may go vacant. That is why they charge you certain money for rescheduling.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question? Anyone else? Okay. Maybe I would like to stop here today. My throat is also not helping me much today. Hopefully by next Saturday I'll be much better. I somehow got a kind of a cough and congestion. So we would stop here for today, and maybe tomorrow I will log in for some time just to help Laura because she is kind of doing that session first time. If she needs any help, I will do that. Otherwise, I'll see you folks next Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.